The Mi A2 may have a few disadvantages, but one thing is for sure is that it packs some serious camera abilities and hardware. Considering how we now have the Poco F1 at a slight premium, many may think of getting the Poco F1 instead, especially if it manages to provide a similar, if not better, camera experience. This is Sandeep from Rev Atlas. Let's compare both these smartphones in detail. The rear camera on the Poco F1 is a Sony IMX363 with 12 megapixels of resolution, f1.9 aperture, 1.4 micron pixel size, and a secondary 5 megapixel Samsung depth sensor with f2 aperture and 1.12 micron pixel size. The setup on Mi A2 definitely seems superior on paper at least, with a 12 megapixel f1.75 Sony IMX486 with 1.25 micron pixel size and a secondary 20 megapixel Sony IMX376 with 1 micron pixel size and identical f1.75 aperture. The primary difference you would notice when comparing images from both these phones are the colors. The A2 renders colors very accurately and has near perfect white balance, while there's a tendency to oversaturate the colors and also have a yellowish tinge on the F1 images. Sharpness too is miles better on the Mi A2, mostly owing to the superior sensor, which takes the lead despite the smaller pixel size. Dynamic range is pretty identical on both, but the A2 has a tendency to underexpose images in HDR mode, and as a result you may have to bump up the brightness in post. In this way, the Poco F1 HDR mode is much better. In low light conditions, the Mi A2 again has an advantage due to the brighter lens as well as better color accuracy. The HDR mode works well on both to extract more details from the shadows, but if you truly want to make the best use of the A2, then it's best to shoot in manual mode with the low light camera. The IMX376, which takes sharper images with less noise, is the low light camera on the Mi A2. Coming to the portrait mode, you'll notice a huge difference in sharpness owing to the superior depth sensor on the A2 that provides better details and depth information to the cameras. The colors are also much better, and so is the edge detection. The advantage of the F1 is that it has slightly better dynamic range that keeps shadows and highlights in check compared to the Mi A2. The front-facing camera on the Mi A2 is a 20 megapixel Sony IMX376 with f2.2 aperture and 1 micron pixel size, while the Poco F1 has a 20 megapixel f2 Samsung sensor with smaller 0.9 micron pixel size. In good lighting conditions, both the cameras perform practically identically. There's great sharpness on both and dynamic range is about the same too. The A2 has a more neutral color range and proper white balancing, while the F1 tends to produce warmer images which are a bit yellowish. In portrait mode, edge detection is slightly better on the F1, and surprisingly, it's also sharper, keeping the portion in focus with more details than the A2. I would have expected the larger pixel size to give the A2 an upper hand, but it's the other way around. Colors are still better on the A2 and contrast is also more natural looking on the A2 though. Lastly, in low light, again the Poco surprises with a sharper image and also one that had better edge detection compared to the A2, which clearly has a superior camera sensor despite the smaller aperture. Xiaomi mentions that it uses pixel binning technology on both, which converts 0.9 micron pixel size to 1.8 on the F1 and 1 micron to 2 on the A2, but the results show F1 is better. In terms of video recording, the phones are pretty similar as they support 4K 30fps without EIS and 1080p with EIS. The A2 also additionally supports 1080p 60fps mode with EIS enabled, but that was added later and is a feature currently unavailable on the Poco F1, so hopefully it'll too get this functionality considering that it has a more powerful processor under the hood. The stabilization is the same on both when EIS is enabled, and the bitrate as well and detailing is practically identical too. The main difference is felt where the videos are more saturated on the F1 while the A2 has more neutral colors. The 4K mode on the F1 in particular is even more vibrant compared to a 1080p mode, and you'll notice a similar situation on the A2 as well. The front-facing camera lacks EIS on both, but again the more natural colors on the A2 gives it the lead. So this is 1080p video coming from the front-facing camera of the Poco F1 at 30fps. There's no EIS on board, so you'll notice some slight shakes and jitteriness. But let me know how you guys find the sharpness, the dynamic range, the overall video quality, and even how well it's picking up my voice in this particular scenario. This is the front-facing camera of the Mi A2 capturing 1080p 30fps video. Let me know what you guys think about the overall sharpness, the dynamic range, the video quality, and how well it's picking up my voice in this particular scenario. There's no EIS enabled, so it'll be a bit shaky, but hopefully it'll still be pretty decent for an output through the front camera. The Poco F1 is a surprising smartphone when it comes to the camera setup. Despite seemingly lower end parts being used, it manages to match or surpass the A2 in some parts, most probably due to the more powerful processor and more optimized processing. The better front facing camera in HDR mode makes it quite tempting, and unless camera is your absolute priority, It seems like the F1 is a smartphone to go for if you have the budget for it. But if you're looking for an absolute camera-oriented device, then the A2 is the option to go, especially since it has the scope to do even better with updates, and while the F1 will also get better, it may not beat the A2. We'll include purchase links in the description below. Please do hit the subscribe button if you like this video. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next one.